Hello, my quilty friends. It's Stacy of Stacy Creates Stuff here with the final block, block 12 of Patching the Hole in the Barn Door, my weekly block of the week series. That makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, roll intro. I can't believe we've made it to the last block. Well, I actually have a little bonus block for you, but not today. Hang tight, that will be out shortly. But let's get going with this block. Block 12. Our poem for this week goes, back home they did return, hankering for some pie. A delicious delight they baked, cooling on the sill. Shoo, fly! And our final block is a simple one. The shoo fly. I figured you all deserved something simple to wrap up this series. Next week's video, which is still part of this series, will be on how to set the blocks for your final quilt. But for now, let's get going with this block. The fabrics that I have chosen for our 12th block are the lovely green, a little bit of pink, and some background. The first thing I'm going to cut is from my background. I need to cut two 3-inch squares. So these are some 4-inch squares I had left over from cutting pieces for the frames. So let me just cut these down. Also from the background, I need 4 2.5-inch squares. See how many I can get out of this. I'm going to be using the pink fabric for the center block, and I need 1 2.5-inch square from that. And from my green fabric, I am going to cut 2 3-inch squares. I'm going to go ahead and also cut a 2.5-inch square. That's just in case I change my mind about using that pink in the center. Traditionally, this block is done with one color in the background, and I thought it would be fun to bring a little bit of pink into the block, brighten it up some. So this gives me some options, and I won't have to decide right away. So all the 2.5-inch squares I'm going to just set over to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and take the 3-inch squares and use my 1/4 square tool to mark these as a 1/2 square triangle. You should be quite adept at making 1/2 square triangles if you've been doing the blocks as they come out or that you've been working on them. We use the 1/2 square triangles every single block for the frame, and a few of the blocks have also had them within. So even though these squares are a different size than the corners for the frame, the construction is still exactly the same. I'm going to pair these up with the background fabric, and I'm going to sew just inside the drawn lines. Then I'll be cutting these apart and trimming them up. Be right back. All right, here are my sewn squares. I'm just going to take and cut between the stitched lines. It doesn't have to be an exact 1/4 inch. It just needs to not cut through any of your sewn stitches. Might be time for a new blade. I'm going to go press and then we'll trim. All right, I am back and I have brought out my rotating mat. It just makes it a little bit easier. So these are going to get trimmed to 2.5 inches, and I am using a bias square ruler to make it a little bit easier. If you don't have a ruler that is similar to this, have no fear. You can go back to some of the early episodes of this series, and I will show you how you can use the 45-degree line on your regular ruler to accomplish the same thing. So I'm just making sure that the edges of my block come past the 2.5 inch marks for these first cuts. And now that I have evened up 2 sides, I'm going to use the 2.5 inch marks as the edge of the block, and also making sure that I am aligned on the diagonal. I'm going to continue that with the other 3 blocks. All right, there are all 4 of our blocks, and now we can go ahead and lay out the entire block. These are the corner pieces. The background will go at the top and bottom and also on the sides. And then the question is, pink center or green center? Well, whichever one I choose, the construction will still be the same. I'm going to sew 3 rows, and then I will sew the rows together. I'll be right back. I'm back with my rows sewn together. I went with the pink. I just think it adds a real fun pop of color. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the rows together, and we'll almost be done. Here is the finished center, and I am going to pair that up with a bright purple frame. So let me get that sewn together, and I'll show you the finished block. And there you have it, our shoo fly block. That's going to make a great addition to the rest of the blocks. Now, I already have my quilt top done at the time that you see this video. It's not done at the time of recording because here's block 12. But very shortly after, I finished up the quilt and sent it off to the long arm quilter. So next week, fingers crossed that it's back, and I will be showing you my quilt top quilted, and if we're really lucky, also bound. And really lucky, has a label on it, but we'll see. Anyhow, next week I will show you the settings for the block. If you are not on my email list to receive the instructions, the link is in the description below. Anyone signing up after May 1st, 2024 will receive the block instructions 1 week at a time. I hope you have had fun with this series, and I am so looking forward to showing you how you can put the blocks together to make anything from a lap size to a queen size. It does take more fabric, obviously, to make the queen size, but I'm going to show you how you can set it with these 12 blocks plus a lot of fabric and get a queen size out of it. I made a lap size quilt. You'll see it next week. Until then, I'm Stacy of Stacy Creates Stuff. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.